Once upon a time, there was a video game developer called Rareware who made a bunch of really good games for the Super Nintendo and Nintendo 64, and then Microsoft bought them for $375 million, and then they made Kinect Sports and everyone died. The end. I have long since come to accept that Banjo 3E or 4E or whatever you want to call it, the next true Banjo game 25 years after Banjo 2E, is a game that will never actually come to fruition. The people in charge of the IP have signaled a lack of interest in the idea, and Microsoft has signaled a lack of interest in putting out games in general. Because of this, the closest thing we'll have to Banjo 3E will have to come from the fans. Even though nobody cares about Banjo Kazooie, the fans have risen to the challenge on numerous occasions, and despite not caring about the bear and the bird, they were able to make some very good fan games. Banjo ROM hacks have come a very long way, and today, after much anticipation, we have the latest of those great ROM hacks. The corrupted Jiggies. This was first shown off at F3 2023 and was originally supposed to come out that year, but you know, shit happens, life happens, things get in the way. In any case, I'm glad it's here because it's real good. The premise is that Grunty is back on her bullshit and is poisoning the lake around Spiral Mountain. So you have to go to the new hub world called Hub Land. Now that's funny. Here, you find these new weird corrupted Jiggies called Griggies, and you need to find like 97 of them to get the true super secret ending, where it turns out you weren't playing as Banjo at all. You were playing as the medic who was on board the helicopter when Spiral Mountain was bombed by Grunty's PMC bombing squad. And the real Banjo is working underground to build his own military nation. I know, what the hell, right? One of the most impressive things in this hack is the fact that it actually recreates the Jiggy painting effect from the original, where you actually see the pieces go in one by one. It might not seem like a big deal, but if you've been playing Banjo hacks for a while, you'll know that it's actually a huge deal. This has been a very difficult feature to implement in previous ROM hacks to the point where it usually just isn't there. But the creator of this hack finally figured it out, and in one of the many fourth wall breaks, the creator makes sure to point out just how difficult it was. I believe you. I really like this because I think it demonstrates an extra level of care and attention to the little things. Not having the paintings be functional wouldn't affect the gameplay or the level design very much, but it does affect the overall aesthetics, so it's really nice to go to that kind of trouble. And I think it signals a great interest in the further evolution of the Banjo modding scene. The little details are often some of the most fun parts of Banjo mods, like the file select screen, which now has 3 new funny set pieces to go with it. I just want to take a moment to say I really like how clean the level titles are. I love how they show up in the corner of the screen and go smoothly away. It's a small thing, but it's the kind of thing you tend to notice if you played Banjo Kazooie 300 times. It's a very modern feeling touch. The presentation on the whole is very good, especially the music. There are a ton of references to other games, like how Moneybags from Spyro charges you notes to get into each of the worlds. You got Epona looking goofy as hell, and characters from Conker's Bad Fur Day show up a couple of times with very faithful recreations of their music from the original game. One of my favorite bits is when you find Rayman and Razorbeard on the couch playing corrupted Jiggies. I didn't know this game was 2-player. One of the most unique things about the game is the dialogue and the humor. Right when you begin the game, there are already some new funny details like Bottles' gravestone right in front of your house where he died in Banjo 2E, which is really funny considering his molehill is right in front of it because he's actually still alive. You got the dumpster full of pizza boxes from Nuts and Bolts. And Grunty has a ton of new dialogue and puns and reminds you to check out Jiggies of Time every now and again, which, yeah, that's a very good hack too. This is probably the dirtiest and most profane Banjo hack I've played, and I've played a lot of them. It should come as no surprise that you actually get to, well, have to, really, enter the great mighty shit boy, and then you have to jump around on the sweet corn. You know what hole this is. Oh, that's nasty. Even with all its profanity and offbeat humor, the last thing I expected was an entire section recreating the South Park bit about Lemmy Winks the Gerbil. You turn into a little rat thing, and then Klungo swallows you whole, and this guy tells you your mission, and as you're crawling around, if you're a South Park fan, you'll recognize the music immediately. There's also this level where you find a bird's nest with a drawing of a big baby bird and Banjo and Kazooie labeled Mom and Dad. And then later in the game, you'll find that same bird that drew that picture in heaven, not because he died, but because he just physically flew up that high for fun. If it's not obvious, this is the same bird from Click Clock Wood in the original. That's a very sweet reference. Also, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that the creator dedicated the Heaven level to Gizmo, the best dog you could ever have. I never knew him, but he looks like a good boy. Then you go to Hell, where the only game they can play is Nuts and Bolts. Come on now, it wasn't that bad. There's a graveyard dedicated to all the dead franchises just so we can pay respects. It's kinda poetic really, considering this whole game is paying respect to a dead franchise. One of the cool things about ROM hacks in general is the ability to shortcut to the good stuff. The assumption when playing a ROM hack is that you've already played the original game to hell and back, so you already know how the game works. There's no tutorializing, you don't have to learn all the moves, the game assumes you're familiar with all of Banjo's mechanics, and the levels are all designed accordingly. In terms of gameplay, the level design is pretty good for the most part, although there are occasional moments of ROM hack style wonkiness where the developer couldn't figure out where to draw the line, like having a long precarious platforming section with a bunch of projectiles flying at you at all times. But at least this is one of those hacks where falling off a cliff is not just an insta-kill, so that does balance it out a little bit. It is possible to get lost and confused in such large expansive levels, but thankfully the developer uploaded a walkthrough of every single level for anyone who gets stuck running in circles. Otherwise, the game is very upfront about what it expects from the player. I'm pretty sure at one point it literally reminds you of the run-jump-rat-a-tat combo to get across wide gaps. It also has the courtesy to tell you exactly what every level has in store, collectibles-wise, which is great. That way you're not running in circles looking for something that doesn't exist. As a whole, the game feels very complete and cohesive. Every other level has a grunty switch spawning a secret Griggy in the hub world like the original. And some levels even have secret grunty coins, which are also necessary for the super secret ending. Hubland is also just a well put together hub world and a surprisingly naturalistic feeling one. You know, it's not merely functional. It's got all kinds of little details to make it feel more like a part of the whole rather than just a means to an end. For all intents and purposes, this is a big boy scale Banjo hack that will run you about as long as the original game. And who knows, if you take your time, maybe they'll announce Banjo 4 by the time you're done. Well, probably not, but the bottom line is Corrupted Jiggies is more Banjo Kazooie, and in a world that seems hell-bent on preventing more Banjo Kazooie from actually existing, it's a very important game, and I think every Banjo fan should check it out. So you better do it.